All right, let's talk some hockey. Uh, obviously, only one game last night. The big one, Game 6 between Toronto and Boston. Very interesting game because, again, second game without Matthews. But, Nylander stepped up. Or Nylander, depending on your dialect. And yeah, it's going to be a very interesting Game 7. And, as a goalie guy, man, even though I know Toronto won, man, feel really bad for Roll and losing the shutout with point 0.1 seconds on the clock. Yeah, that happened. That's uh that's a bummer for him. He deserves a shutout there for sure. Um, but anyway, today you will notice, or today actually here, I don't really want. There's not much to say about that game other than you know, Swayman and Wool both played amazing. Very defensive game. Goals at a premium. Nylander stepped up, made it 2-0. That was pretty much the score. And then Boston got the shot. And spent zero point 0.1 second left to get one goal. But yeah. Anyway, the main reason we're here, uh, more unboxing, kind of. I told you there'd be more things coming. I found some stuff really cheap. This is one of them. I guess before I get to that, I should explain this. As I pointed out in the other video, like I have the microphone. Oh, and uh, the video I shot yesterday, or the other unboxing with the hat, that I shot with this the experiment. Um, Video quality looks great, obviously, uh, 'cause it's a higher resolution than this camera is, which is a 720. I was shooting 1080 on this. This can shoot 4K up to 8K, which I'll never need, but not now at least. But or not even by the time this phone is updated, I don't need 8K for anything. Be insane. 4K is already ridiculous enough. Because yeah, even the 1080 file took a long time to process and get on YouTube, which annoyed me because I wanted to try and predict what was going to happen in the Toronto Boston game before the game started, and it just barely got done before then. So anyway, to further delay, I thought I'd try this out. I did a little audio test. Sounds a little cleaner, as long as I'm close enough to it, because it is like a podcast microphone, so it is meant to be directly at my face. Um, it wasn't really designed for this setup in mind when I actually have um proper set, and then I'm also will eventually upgrade some equipment too. Um, yeah, but I'll talk about that when we get to the channel trailer about stuff with that. Anyway, without further ado, let me open. Where did I put the cutty thingies? I had them. Oh, they're there. There we go. Without further ado, what's in the? It's kind of a box, more a bag. I know it is a book, and I chose to wear some Red Wings stuff for this because it is Red Wings related. It's one of 3 books I ordered. I found online. Actually, you can get used books for like dirt cheap, like $4. This is what I think one of the 3 I think it is one I got. We'll see what it is. We'll see which book it is. Together. This way. Ah, it is Lindstrom's biography. Not the one I was expecting early, but I forget the dates and shipping, but hey, look at that. And for again, pre-owned book, it looks like it actually this one may have been brand new, I forget. Because this one I think I paid the most for. I'll talk about the other ones when I get them. Because one of them was like $4, almost 5. I think this was 10, which is still cheaper than the original list price of $17 or 23 or 24 Canadian. Sorry, Canadians. Uh, hey, look, paper receipt. Nicholas Lindstrom. Wait, pursuit. It just says pursuit of, and then condition goods. As I was reading it, pursuit of good. No, it's called the pursuit of perfection because it's Lindstrom. Uh, as his teammates always referred to him as the perfect human being. And someone who's got him in my Hockey Ultimate team as my top defenseman. And they did recently upgrade the, because as that season goes along, the game goes, or as the games go and seasons go along in that game, a lot of the icon players like that, you can keep upgrading. They'll keep raising their overall. And they recently bumped Lindstrom to a 95, which is about feels right. Uh, think he'd probably still be at a 96 or 97, and he might still get there. I don't know. There's still plenty of time before NHL 25, so maybe they'll keep bumping him up. But yeah, he's been um, a staple on my ultimate team. I think he was the first of the big three Red Wings. Lundstrom was the first one I went out of my way to get to buy as a card or player to use in that. Um, and then Eiserman, and then I had to save up like a month for how. I'll talk about more Ultimate Team probably next year. When the NHL 25 coming out. Yeah, I'll be doing stuff with that because all of everything will be different. The actual studio will be good, and I'll have capture system set up where I can. I'll be live streaming stuff too. I'm sure playing NHL 25 and hot matchups or just friendly games with viewers and stuff would be fun. Game nights, although I play that game a lot. Um, I only paused to stop to do this little unboxing for this book, and we can talk about it before I read it. Once I read it, I will give you a review and talk about it more. Um, the only reason I stopped to do this because I happened to see it came in the mail. It's like, oh, it's one of the three books I got. The other two you'll find out. You can probably guess based on things I just said. um, but yeah, this is when I looked into it. This was basically the biography on Lindstrom, like the one. And there's obviously several written about everyone and every team and everything, but certain players and things like that, there are definitive. Like this is the most popular by far. Um, see, and just for the record, it was written by Gunnar Nordstrom. I'm assuming also Swedish. Well then, and Bob Duff, which is a name that sounds really familiar. I believe he's a hockey journalist. And let's read the back cover here for fun. Praise for Nicholas Lindstrom. Quote from Steve Eiserman. Nicholas Lindstrom is the greatest player I ever played with. He was just consistently the workhorse of our hockey team, kind of the backbone of the whole team. Very true, and I agree with Eiserman. Um, I remember, where did I hang it? Oh, it's up there. There it is. My press pass. Back when I was a hockey journalist, I remember being on the conference call. I found out a day early, like, oh, Lindstrom's going to announce his retirement tomorrow. Remember sitting in this room with my roommate at the time, and we're listening to that and kind of letting the news sink in. First, we were both in silence, and all I said first was just, "Well, end of an era," because it was. He really, I know the Red Wings kept making the playoffs for several years after Lindstrom was gone, because Datsuk and Zetterberg were still around, and there was some upcoming talent around, and Howard was still in that, but being paid too much money. But that's neither different time. Um, no, yeah, the real change I think in the team from the 25-year consecutive playoff run they did as a dynasty, technically not all with Lindstrom. The first year, I don't think, yeah, the first year he wasn't part of it, and then the last couple. But one day, I know the hockey guy's done a great career video on Lindstrom, but I want to do my own take on it pretty soon. Obviously, probably a lot to do with, you know, coming from the book. I'll be going more into like personal history where he grew up, I got into hockey, like the biography kind of thing. We'll also talk about the stats though, because there is a calculation I want to run on Lindstrom's stats. I don't know if anyone's actually looked at yet. Because I was looking at the hockey guy's video. He's got the whiteboard, with all the late years and that. I'm looking at it. A number of games played. He barely missed much time with injury, if any. And he always made the playoffs. His 20-year career, he never missed the playoffs. And only once in the playoffs didn't score any points. He might be both games played and points production wise for his career for that 20 years. He may be the most statistically consistent player in terms of like for a number of games played like total games that he missed in his 20 years and also um, his average point consistency, both regular season and playoff. Like I want to do those numbers and see what they look like because they're ridiculous. But yeah, Eiserman's right here about him, and there's a reason Lindstrom got the Lindstrom man combining their names. there's a reason Lindstrom got the C after Eisman retired. Um, because when we retired Eisman's jersey, we put the C on the jersey because he was and still is holds the record for the longest serving captain in NHL history, 22 seasons. He is the perennial team captain. On my ultimate team in NHL 24, he's the team captain. And there's other players on that team that you could argue should be captain based on just who they are, like Gretzky or Lemieux. But yeah, it's Eiserman. So yeah, that C on a Detroit jersey, you know, it carries. It's heavier than other C's, I think, in other organizations. I know there's a lot of franchises out there with good story histories of great captains, but when it comes to Detroit, it is a big deal. So yeah, and yeah, I think Lindstrom carried it well. Um, Zetterberg did the best he could with what he had. Uh, uh, and I got to give credit to Dylan Larkin. Because again, like I said, that C is heavy, and especially for a kid who's from Michigan, from Waterford, it's a local dude. To grow up around here as a Wings fan, and then get to play for the team, and then become captain of the team, to step into the like, those are big skates to fill, no matter where you're from. But being local, he understands exactly how much that captaincy means. I'm getting off on a little tangent. Go back to the Lindstrom book and talk about it, or talk about Lindstrom. Oh, well, maybe I should just skip this next quote, but I'll read it anyway. From Mike Babcock. If you know, you know. If I'll have to do a video about that sometime for those not aware of the heinous things Babcock did as a coach in multiple cities, including Detroit. But I don't want to talk about that now. Let's just talk about the good things he said about Lindstrom. Well, he didn't say anything bad about Lindstrom that I know of, but let's just focus on him. Nick Lindstrom is a true role model. He's someone from our community, for Hockey Town, to trust, to admire, to respect. As good a player as he was a better man and better teammate. Kind of glad I read that from Babcock. That's kind of funny because he talks about someone to admire and respect, which, yeah, Babcock would be great if you could do that with all your players. Not, yeah, anyway. But anyway, next quote from Mr. Henrik Zetterberg, as I mentioned before, took the C after Lindstrom. I'm aware of what a big part Nick played in my career, both on and off the ice. I have not played with anyone better. Just look at what he has accomplished. It's mind boggling. That was from Zetterberg. Next quote, this one should be good, from Scotty Bowman. He was just a wonderful player, one of a kind. As to who's the best ever, it's tough to rate this guy here and that guy there. I will say I don't rate anyone ahead of Lindstrom. That's from Scotty Bowman. Who, again, people can have all the arguments they want. I think statistically at this point, he's the greatest coach of all time in the NHL and hockey. It's hard to see anyone passing some of his records, but who knows? But Scotty Bowman. Oh, next quote from Nicholas Cronwall, who I love, and yeah, it's Cronwall's quote. I don't think people realize still how good he really was. There's no one like him, and there probably never will be another guy like him. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Um, Not to tangent too much because other side, I finished one. Um, Recently, not recently, within the last few weeks, or since the off season, um, obviously there's been speculation about, you know, what's going on with the Patrick Kane situation for the Red Wings, and people were talking about him leaving, blah blah blah. Very possible. Um, but I read a phrase I haven't heard in a while, which just annoyed me. It's just the way they wrote it. It's like, and I'm not do that quote paraphrasing. It's just like, and then finding someone to replace Patrick Kane. I'm like, no, just like when no, you can't. You literally can't find a player to replace Patrick Kane with. He's Patrick Kane. Um, there isn't really a good comparison around the league. Even in the past, actually, there is one comparison I can make from a former player. I'm not going to do that yet. I'll wait till I do a career video on Kane when he inevitably retires in like 8, 9 years. Who knows how long he plays? Um, sorry, lost my train of thought. Oh, Kane and another player I was gonna mention. Oh, when Lindstrom retired, Mr. Perfect, or yes, Perfect Human Being, as his different teammates call him. Uh, when Lindstrom retired, I remember seeing similar quotes like in local press of like, well, now they got to get someone to replace Nicholas. I'm like, no, you can't replace Nicholas Lindstrom because we're always going to have arguments, but he's in that conversation, arguably one of the greatest defensemen of all time to ever play the game across any era, whatever. There's no debate about that. That he's at least in that discussion. We can all disagree about who, Ray Bork, Bobby Orr, Phil Gilmore. There's a couple names you could throw in there. Um, Rod Langway, even if you want to go defensive. That's not all about points. Um, I brought this up for a reason. I'm really spacey right now, which is weird 'cause I'm just tired and rushed too because I wasn't expecting to do this video. So, energy drink. Oh yeah, no, yeah. The quote people are saying about replace Nicholas. I'm like, you can't replace Lindstrom. And the joke I was going to make was right now, take whoever you think the two best defensemen are in the NHL, say Cale Makar and Drew Doughty or something like that. Duct tape them together, put them both on the ice at the same time so they have two sticks. Still not as good as Nicholas Lindstrom. Wouldn't be. I mean, they'd be good. They wouldn't be as consistent. That is the remarkable thing with Lindstrom's career is how consistent he was, and I'll get into that. But anyway, let me read these last four quotes and we can get out of here. Um, oh, fun. Here's one from Evgeny Malkin, former rival. He knows a thing or two about having to go against Lindstrom. Here's Malkin's quote. He's the best I ever played against. If you go back 100 years and start counting Bobby Orr and others, Lindstrom is top 5 for sure. But during my career, and if you include Shea Weber, Zdeno Chara, and Drew Doughty, my number 1 is Nicholas Lindstrom. Says a lot. It's funny, I was just talking about that before I read that quote, or even knew what it was. Kismet. Anyway, moving on. Next quote from Pierre Maguire, analyst, I think former player, but mostly known as an analyst for NBC. Uh, well, I think he works beside NBC. Still has a regional contract for Chicago and a couple other areas, but anyway. Pierre Maguire's quote: "The mark Nick left on the NHL and the hockey world is that he was a picture of perfection. Not only was Nick one of the best players to ever play his position, but he's also one of the greatest gentlemen to ever play in the NHL." I would agree. Oddly enough, I don't think Lindstrom ever won a Lady Byng trophy. But he was nominated, but I don't think he ever won one, surprisingly. Because he was one of those players, much like Pavel Datsyuk, who just didn't get penalized. I mean, they did, but if it happened, it was like, oh, yeah, it was rare. Pay attention. Um, there's plenty of times, too, when Datsyuk got penalized. Very rare. I'm sure his PIMs per season were very low, hence because he got all the Lady Bings. Probably why Lindstrom didn't get as many. Again, I have to look at nominations and when I do stats on that, but there were plenty of times Datsuk would end up taking the penalty and then come out of the box, and knowing he's coming out of the box, they'd give him the puck and then they'd go and break away and score because that's what Datsuk did. Lindstrom, not so much because it's hard to do that as a defenseman, but who knows? It may have happened once or twice in his career. Wouldn't surprise me. Anyway, speaking of Drew Doughty, actually, ironically, as Malkin mentioned him earlier, there's a quote from Drew Doughty. "Nick Lindstrom was obviously a legend in this league and in the hockey world. He was somebody I looked up to as a young player. I really wanted to be him. I'm not close to being there, but I'm working hard at it. So, that's some praise there from Rudy. And the final quote, this one should be great, from Sidney Crosby. He was so smart and knew when to step up and make plays, score big goals. He was just kind of the ultimate leader. Playing against him as a young guy, you learned a lot. And it's true. I have philosophy that generally in sports, there's always the Cinderella stories, weird, crazy teams come out of nowhere, but generally in most sports, it's definitely true in hockey, you got to lose a big game before you learn how to win it. No better example than, what happened with Pittsburgh and Detroit in 2008, 2009. That Pittsburgh team had to go there, lose to Detroit to learn how to win that in seven. Barely, you know. So, and I would say even in Detroit Red Wings history, recent history, um, I don't think without losing, getting swept in the finals in '95 by Jersey, and also losing to Colorado in '96 after a ridiculous President's Trophy season in '96. Those two things together, I think, is what taught the team how to win. Plus, also, those losses, plus on the way to that, right before they played Colorado in the '96 Western Conference Finals, they played St. Louis, a stacked St. Louis team in an amazing seven game, mostly amazing seventh game. I forget the rest of the series because game seven's all that really mattered. Boy, that was fun. And well, that's a whole other video. But anyway, yes, Nicholas Lindstrom, pursuit of perfection. I will have to get the rest of that label off at some point. But yes, those are some of the quotes from the back about the Lindstrom and the whatnot. And I'll see here. Hey, look, there's a photo section. Fun times of various things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice picture of Lindstrom at the final game at the Joe Louis Arena in 2017. As a send, I think they had a lot of former players come back as kind of a send off to Joe Louis, which makes sense. Chapter headings. Just wanted to see. I'm always curious. See, 271 page count. So, yeah. Once because I'm halfway through, I'm doing the playoffs in Hockey Ultimate Team right now. So I'm a little bit busy with that at the current moment. And tonight's games start in about 20 minutes from when I'm recording this compared to when it uploads. Yep, two big game sixes. Vancouver and Nashville, with Vancouver with a chance to clinch, and Dallas and Vegas, with Dallas with a chance to clinch. Two big game sixes tonight. It'll be fun to watch, and talk about them tomorrow. And talk about whatever shenanigans I got up to in my playoffs run, which hasn't been great so far. Uh, because in the playoffs, I think they throw your division stuff out the window and you're just matching people in the playoffs. And boy, it's rough. You play up to 20 games, and then it's ranked on that. In my first 10, I went 1-9. A couple games that were really close that I should have won, by like one, 2 goals, but yeah, it happens. The game I did just win, my 10th game, the one I took a break from, and then that's when I happened to find the book was here. So, yay, book. Just set that over here for now. Um, the one game I did win was pretty fun. It was nice back and forth 1 goal game. I took a 4-3 lead. Then they scored real late in the third to tie it up and went to overtime. I ended up getting the overtime winner. So, woo! 1 for 9 out of 20 or 10 more games to play in that. So, for the playoffs. Yoo whoopie doo. And I believe it's Friday, right? Yeah, so they reset a couple things for the week I gotta go concern myself with, as well as watching the hockey tonight. I'll be doing both. So anyway, get out of here. It's been 25 minutes because I rambled about a bunch of stuff. But hey, you know what? Why not? Also, good long-term test for the microphone. Obviously, I'll have it try and get it lower in frame, but again, it is set up in a way where I do need to usually try and be as close to it as possible. But hey, I attached the arm to a nearby thing. Wasn't really planning to use this till I got the official desk area together, but that's why I bought this stand with the whole kit I got because I can easily just stick this thing anywhere. Uh, and hey, look, I made it work now. So slightly better audio, better videos coming. I can easily pipe it just I didn't feel like setting it up right now. So hey, I can do both at the same time. You'll see that soon enough, and there'll be better lighting. It's not as you know, yeah, that. Okay, all right. Um, enjoy your hockey, and I will see you later. Peace.